Got it. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So I would like to welcome everybody to our meeting of the iPad and Tablets Users Group here at Purdue. So the way that we wanted to kind of run this particular session is to take some time at the very beginning and to devote that to wirelessly mirroring your iPad screen, to a different projector or to a different device. It's something that we've had a lot of questions about, so we thought that we'd go ahead and take a little time to show you what we found that works, and then I might be able to make a couple of comments about where we potentially could go from there. So that's really going to be the battle plan. Then we'll wrap up with our traditional app sharing session. So if anybody's got an app that they've found useful in education or an educational setting, then we'll let you guys kind of take over and kind of steer the boat from there. So I am going to turn things over to my esteemed colleague, Chris Bong, who is going to go through and show you two different methods that we have for wireless mirroring. So I'd give it to Chris.
All right. How's everyone doing today? You know what? So this is a question we've had since we started this users group. It was, how can I untether myself? If I want to present with my iPad, how can I get away from the instructor station and still use it? And we've had apps that we've used before to try to simulate some of that experience, whether it be Air Sketch or two screens. We've offered several apps in the past. What we're looking into right now is a combination of apps, software, and hardware to be able to do this. So right now I'm broadcasting to the monitor from my iPad here. As you can see, I can hold down in Keynote, and there we go. So I have a nice little laser pointer, but so I'm controlling it completely from my iPad. If I was in my classroom, I could obviously walk around, do whatever I wanted to do. I could say, oh, okay, I'm done with Keynote. I'm going to come out of here and I'm going to take pictures, so I can open up and share pictures and all that kind of stuff. So how we're doing this right now currently is we have up here at the station an Apple TV, first of all. Have any of you ever used an Apple TV before? Okay, so one or two. This is an Apple TV is essentially, it's a $99 box that likes to connect Apple Media. So what we've done is we've taken this Apple TV, but the other key part for using it in a classroom is see this little box right here? This is what connects it from a HDMI out to VGA out, and that's what we're running into the projector, right? So we have this HDMI to VGA converter right here, and that's hooked into the standard TickStation projector area. And then on my iPad, once that's hooked up, I can start to look into sharing options. Now, what happens is my iPad or even my Mac running Mountain Lion has what's called Airplay. So that's what I'm doing. I'm Airplaying my iPad to the Apple TV. With that connection, it works pretty well. The catch is that going from an HDMI to a VGA connection, you have to have that special converter to do that, because all these stations, they don't have HDMI connections. Unfortunately, the connection that we have looks like it costs around $60, because you need one that can switch the signal. And the one we have, we're going to put it up on the wiki, but it's called a KNX ATV Pro. It's what was actually recommended to us by the Apple reps. It's what they use when they come to some place that doesn't have HDMI outputs. So we're using that. The only other thing that's kind of tricky right now using that is the connection. In order for me to AirPlay onto my Apple TV, I have to be able to be on the same network and have network discovery. So right now, you can't just hook up your Apple TV out of the box. It won't connect to PAL because there's a lot of certificates and things that have to be set up for the Apple TV. So what we're doing right here is I'm running a wireless hotspot using my phone. So I have a wireless hotspot that I've connected to with, it's an Android phone, by the way, but a wireless hotspot I'm connected to with my iPad and my Apple TV, and that's how it's allowing the AirPlay. Did you want to say something about that, Agamir?
Yeah. Yeah, so what we are in the works with right now, and this isn't something that I can promise is going to happen, overnight across campus, but we are working to try to make Apple TV, I shouldn't say make Apple TV more compatible, make our network and our infrastructure more compatible with items such as the Apple TV. So currently, and this one, we literally just got this done last week, but we have at least one classroom where you will be able to use Apple TV over in Hicks. So it's actually one of our impact classrooms. It's been redesigned. We're planning on trying to roll it out throughout the other, I guess, innovative rooms that we've redone over there in Hicks right now. We're working towards a larger solution, but we don't have all of those answers yet. There's not a timeline. The room in Hicks that it's going to be working in, and like I said, we just finished testing on this last Thursday, but it's Hicks G8, or what is it, 980D? Yeah, G980D. So if you've been in that room, it's the one with the 4 screens in each of the corners, and it's got the round tables with computers at each one. Yeah?
Just to insert a comment, last week there was an Apple rep on campus. He said literally the day before he was here, there was an update to Apple TV. Have you explored that update?
We tried it. It didn't work. So
What we had to go through, I tried loading some certificates using my Mac and a micro USB port to the Apple TV with Apple Configurator, loading the certificates I was supposed to be having for PAL, and there were still issues getting on the network.
yeah, that's one thing, is that the way that the certificates are supposed to be pushed to the Apple TV is that you have to have a Mac running Apple Configurator to be able to push it out. So that's, again, that's one that we're working on that, but it's going to take a little time to get all the bugs worked out.
And then one more comment. I read over the summer, a friend at Cisco was actually working with Apple directly on these enterprise level issues. You know, Purdue is working with Cisco on that.
I am not that I am aware of, but
Give them a plug to
I can definitely push in that direction.
I've actually submitted a ticket on this grandiose issue, but you can imagine where that goes.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's one that, all of us are aware that, this users group, we've got everybody here, there's definitely interest in it. Something that we, like I said, we are taking seriously, we're working on it. It's just that at this moment in time, at least from Apple's perspective, their business model hasn't been based on enterprise applications. So it's just not Purdue who's actually looking at this. Universities across the country, this is a hot button issue on all of the message boards.
Yeah.
So
Apparently what I've heard is Cisco is working at doing a firmware update so that it will allow to help people pop over these sort of enterprise wireless hurdles. And just be a firmware update to the network hardware.
yeah, I will pass the information along. But it's good to hear.
And
Do you have a question, Robert? I know that with some of the Samsung phones, I haven't specifically seen it with the tablets. It's not AirPlay per se, but I know that on some of the smartphones that they do have some wireless mirroring capabilities. But I haven't had a chance to test that out. There's also, with Android, I know that just going through the market, I've seen some apps that purportedly, we're going to make this AirPlay compatible, but I haven't had a chance to actually test it. But I believe that there's some stuff out there.
So the current status then is you have a separate SSID that you connect to in order to make this work?
You're talking how we're doing it over in Hicks.
Yeah,
There's,
how we're doing it right here.
well, from right here, we're not actually using Purdue's network. That's where, yeah, so, yeah, so you're using internet access, but it's some things that the system admins have gone through and done in the back end as far as the subnets to try to get it to work. It was, if I was to get into all of the tech details in it, I know that I would butcher it, but they had to do, according verbatim, a lot of black magic to get it to work the way that we've got it working over there now.
And that's the one issue now. Even if we got the Apple TVs up and running on PAL 3.0 or 2.0, it still wouldn't have discovery, so it still wouldn't be able to see the iPads or computers unless there was some other network stuff that was done.
Yeah. So no.
I'm just going to throw something out there. Suppose somebody had an Airport Express and that somebody wanted to use Ethernet and that somebody wanted to create an SSID, thereby creating a private wireless network. I believe something like that. Just saying.
No comment.
But if you look at the wireless networks that are in this building, right now on your list.
Still no comment. But I don't believe that would be the recommended procedure from ITAP.
Getting this to work, lack of funds, lack of
It's really, I would say that it's more time than anything else. It's just that since Apple didn't design a lot of this stuff with a institution of Purdue's size in mind, and primarily iPads, Apple TVs, iPhones were really designed to be, this is a individual, user device, and it's one user, one location, well, not necessarily one location, but they were designed to, I'm going to walk into my house, I've got everything in the same network, and that's how we're going to get it to work. They didn't plan this with business or large enterprises in mind. So it's going to be working with Apple. It's going to be trying to find unique ways to make their system work. It'd be great if they would just change, but I don't see that necessarily happening anytime soon. But yeah, so it's more being able to take the time and try to devote that time to finding ways to try to make it work. And like I said, we do have, yeah.
people here who could really use it is something like everybody could send email to Jerry and say, hey, we want this, and it might trickle down to, oh, we'll hire a person full time to go put into it for a year. I'm not trying to push anybody.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I'm not sure if I'm going to make that recommendation, but I mean, we do. Yeah.
For us to do stuff, we have to send emails that we kind of push something along. I don't know whether they're doing good, but it's fine if enough people, say,
I was going to say, not to put you on the spot, Phil, but what's your perception?
Everybody else sends emails, Jerry.
not so much Jerry, but I mean, is there something we can do to get something to go? And it seems like this is a pretty
Part of it is the nationwide problem, like you said. Last week's meeting, we also discussed running new kits to the classrooms that bypass some of the Cisco antenna stuff. And if we can get rid of the interference issue that some of the engineers complain about with more wireless stuff in the air. Because when you're in a classroom with antenna array, you're not, those signals go to the wall, or some folks next door are hanging off their bars, hoping that they can get connectivity to. So when we start pounding the airways with transmission, transfer sets, it's not just locked inside the walls of the classroom. Everything's getting looked at. Everybody's wanting it. I'm wanting it. I'm the AD manager, and I get asked all the time, why can't I go mobile with my iPad and noise and teach and collaborate and capture on the fly? There's so much student group work in spaces and it's great. There's a lot of people looking at it right now. You can take a here if you want.
If I do it, one person I can do it, but I mean, if a bunch of people did it, maybe they would kind of say, hey, this is something important, right? But if it's not worth doing it,
It's growing, it's coming, there's a lot of chat online. What's the magic bullet? A lot of road wireless systems out there. People are trying to find that way to do it.
Robert, there is an operation oversight committee that meets regularly with Jerry to bring issues like this.
AirSketch is really limited. I mean, it's fine for what I do with it, but boy, I'd much rather be able to just go to anything on my iPad.
Can you comment on connectivity from Android? Because I know on an iPhone, unfortunately, the carriers agree, and in order to create a hotspot, you have to have a special data plan to do that. It's pretty easy to set up on an iPhone, but you have to, you're going to be using your data, and then they tack on another charge just to make your device hotspot. Is that the same for Android?
With Android, you're still supposed to do that. Some of the flavors of Android, especially if you have stock, they have Wi-Fi tethering built in, and you don't have to pay the carrier to access it. Now, will I get in trouble for having this hotspot? Well, right now, I don't think we're really dragging a lot of data from the network. If we started downloading a bunch of stuff from the net, they may do some packets and things and find out. Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, you're supposed to pay for the hotspot.
For this purpose, is it even necessary to have turned on your phone while you're setting up this hotspot?
I think when we were trying to set it up, it wouldn't let me set up a network without having cellular data on. For my program, for Android, I have it. Like, I tried to set it up to, let's say, oh, what if I had a Wi-Fi open and not, no, it would work.
So, once you get everything set up, is there still the problem where any other student then could also just take away control? They have their own iPad.
Yes, I do have my iPad.
So yeah, so it's another thing that we're looking into. So right now, Chris is there. If I come in and I'm on the same network, I can bump it. So it is there. So again, and we actually had this discussion right before we started the session this afternoon. It's going to be an issue, as we see with any other technology that we try to adopt and use in the classroom or other teaching strategies. It's going to be one more aspect that you're going to have to think of as far as classroom management. So it's the possibility that yes, it's the one destructive student, but again, it's one of those ones that you're going to face it regardless. We could be doing something with the document camera here, and the student could misuse it. I mean, or try to do something in a manner that whether it's acting out or however you want to classify that. But yeah, that would be something you would have.
My thought was if Bill's talking about the Wi-Fi goes through the walls, it wouldn't have to be someone in this room doing it.
No, it would have to be close enough that it would be the same access point, the way that this is set up right now.
As long as you secure the access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a password for the network.
Yeah, so the way, since we're running a hotspot now, it's passworded. So you guys will be able to see it. Oh, does it? Okay.
Okay, and I haven't had a chance to take a look at that yet. But that would be another thing, at least then you could lock it down to the students that are in your class. Yeah.
Well, if it still had a password for that particular machine, though.
Yeah.
That if that was something instructors had but it wasn't available to students, and they'd be able to do it. Of course, the other thing is, I think some of the usefulness of this, if you think about using this in a classroom, if students have iPads, being able to share work and things like that, not just having the instructor, it's kind of, oh, it's just something to think about when it gets set up. All right, so we do have one other option we're going to show here with mirroring, and this takes the Apple TV out of the mix. Unfortunately, you still have to have a hotspot. You still have to be on the same network, and that's called reflection. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug my VGA over here, and I'm going to put it onto my Mac. In the perfect world, it'll work. All right, so I have a Mac here that's running reflection, I think. And what I'm going to do here, this is a program that can be downloaded from off the internet, and it costs money for a full version. It's what, $15? And what it does is it kind of takes Apple's Airplay protocol and hijacks it a little bit. So it still shows up on my Airplay on my iPad. I can see my MacBook, so I can select that, and then we end up with my iPad being broadcast onto my computer, and then it's just hooked in using a standard VGA dongle with my Mac. So this cuts the Apple TV and the Apple TV dongle HDMI to VGA out. And then here it's the same way. So I can share everything I want. I can change it. I can change orientation and just have basic access to it. Is there anything else we're showing on this part, Adam?
I guess the other thing that is kind of nice when it comes to reflection is that you're not limited to just one device. So if you were going to be doing something more collaborative, let me go ahead and pull it up. Chris's MacBook here. So you can actually put multiple devices on the same screen at once. So we've maxed out on this. It wasn't that the app couldn't handle anymore, but we literally just ran out of devices. But we had three iPads and 2 iPhones going to the same machine simultaneously. I don't know if I recommend that because it keeps shrinking them down more and more that you get, and so there's a point of diminishing returns. But it is something that's an option that's out there. The other thing that I know that is another potential advantage as far as using reflection, possibly overusing something like the Apple TV, is that if you're running a different product in the background on the Mac, like say something like Adobe Connect, now you've actually gained the opportunity that you can record the iPad screen for future use or live distribution. So like we're doing the Connect session right now. If we were running Connect through the MacBook instead, then we would be able to share effectively the iPad screen with everybody else that was looking at it. So that's it's another, like I said, they're very similar, but there are differences when you start going through. Yeah. So currently, this is from the testing that I've been able to do, and what I found is that reflection will work if you're on the old PAL 2.0. Now, I haven't seen it if you're in a room such as this, where you have PAL 2 and PAL 3 running simultaneously. It doesn't matter which one you try to get on, there's something going on that it won't do it. But if you're in a room where PAL 2 only exists, and it's the old PAL 2 PAL instructions, then yes, it works. So I can do this on the 5th floor of Young all day long. Good.
Anyone else? Yeah. There's not a full screen command per se. I can resize kind of manually here. And yeah, I was one of those things when I first saw it. I was like, oh, I wish this had a full screen mode so we could just swipe through the different screens, but I didn't see that, unfortunately. And the website for that, we'll put that on the wiki as well, but it's what, reflectionapp.com. So, does anyone else have any questions about reflection, or we can, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those ones that when we've done demos and we've shown people in the past, and all of a sudden, usually I'll pull up Angry Birds just because it's cool. But yeah, when all of a sudden you're hearing, like on the MacBook, sound is actually transferring to Airplay as well. And you're like, well, wait a minute, that's not your iPad. But yeah, it actually works really well.
Well, so this will work if I hook up the sound here? I was just trying to plug in the audio here. I think that's going through. Oh, the touch screen. Too many touch screens over here. I don't know if you ever had this problem. I gave my iPad to my dad, and he was playing with it, and he was playing with my MacBook Air, and he kept trying to touch the screen. I'm like, stop it! Touch the screen. Stop it! Touch the screen. But, all right. Any other questions about mirroring, or we can move on? Was there anything else we needed to add about mirroring, Adam? All right. We can move on to kind of the app sharing portion of the meeting. Does anyone want to jump up and have an app to share? So do you have one you want to show, Adam? Okay. How you want to hook into it? You want to just do it like that?
Actually, since I'm on the network, I can
Yeah. So I'll just make this bigger. Yeah. Oops, we have too many air. Too many. Okay. Are you going to use tall or wide? Okay. Okay.
Or they don't want to use the keyboard that would be popping up on the screen. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as typing versus doing anything else. But what ThinkSpace can actually do is that it's going to create a unique URL that you can access from any browser. So in this one, unlike, what are you using, Tim, again? I'm trying to, AirSketch. Unlike AirSketch, where it's going to broadcast over the same network, anybody that you would give the URL to would be able to see it any place in the world. So that was one thing that was kind of nice. So again, that's one of those ones that we've identified it for, and it's not going to work for everybody's unique situations. But if you're looking for something to be able to draw, to be able to write, and use it, like I said, as a collaborative whiteboard, that this can be shared and you can show it on any screen. So if you had that URL. So that was one that that we've been playing around with a little bit, and so far seems to be working rather well. So if you had multiple iPads that were out in the classroom, what you would, and this is what one of the faculty over in nursing that I was working with. So what we've been saying is that if the so say that you've got 7 iPads in the classroom, 7 groups, whatever. So all of them, when they fire up the app, they're going to go through. They've got the option to be able to email the URL for their personal whiteboard. So, but the easiest course of action would be to say, okay, shoot, or go ahead, fire it up, send me an email. Now you've got in your inbox, you've got 7 different emails corresponding to each of the iPads. Just open it up in a different tab for the browser. So you've just got a tab for that's group 1, that's group 2, and then go through and then manually change them like that. You're controlling it from the actual PC that's in the classroom. Yep. Yeah, so you would be tethered, but the students would be able to be remote. Now the other option, because I know that since you use it for presentation as well, If you wanted to have your own whiteboard, it would just be a matter of you're going to have another tab open for your iPad as well, and then go through that. But through tab browsing, that's about the best solution for that one. Okay. All right. So that was the app that I had.
Does anyone else have a... How do you want to set up here? Yeah, you can. Okay. The password is iPad. Excuse me, Daryl.
Hi, I'm James Britton with Student Affairs. And, well, the first thing, it's not an app, but it's a very useful device. It's the Logitech Ultra thin keyboard case. I've tested several, and this is definitely the best that I've seen. I think you've got it as well. It's basically like a smart cover, so it's magnetic, and it protects it very well. It's the thinnest keyboard case that I've seen, and then it's got a nice stand. The keyboard is if you're used to like a Mac keyboard, it's definitely narrower than that, but I find it quite comfortable, even composing very long emails or reports. So that's the Logitech Ultra, I think it's called Ultra Thin Keyboard Case.
How is the battery life on that?
According to the specs, it's 6 months, and it comes with it's either a mini or micro USB. I never remember which is which, but right there. Yeah, so the battery is internal. There's no AA's or anything, and I've had it all summer, and I don't think there's really a battery indicator, but it's really easy to charge via USB. So. Anyway, so the app that I wanted to show is Notability. So I go back here. Apple TV. MacBook Air. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, great. So it's called Notability. And it's basically like the ultimate note-taking app. I think it's only $1 too, so it's kind of a no-brainer. But my favorite feature about this is that it syncs up with Dropbox. It just has it creates a folder in your Dropbox account. So basically, anytime you create a new note, which is what you do down here, it's basically creating a new file. It gives you the generic file name of note with the date, but you can change this to whatever you want. And as you would expect, you have text input. You can have highlighting, which is nice, and it's actually free-form highlighting, so you can even draw with it if you want. You can erase. You can cut things out, and then this is probably the coolest thing. You can actually insert, basically like a desktop publishing app, you can insert anything from handwriting to a figure to, just go back here, to a web clip. This is pretty cool. If you wanted to kind of take a snippet of a website. I lied, I am accessing data, sorry about that. It shouldn't be too intense. But so basically, you could just hit done here, and now you have a snippet of this website. Oops. Just hit the undo button there. And then you can drag this around, move it around, delete it, wrap text around it, that sort of thing. The other cool feature is you can actually record. So now it's recording, and it will sync up the recording with, it basically gives a timestamp to any new information that you've put in the Note app. And then finally, once you're ready to save it, there basically is no save. It's just always saving it. So you'll see that in the list here, 1 megabyte file of meeting. And it's constantly syncing with your Dropbox account, which is really cool. So basically, there's no way that you could ever not save something. And then it's very easy to delete. It's also very easy to, if you had a whole list of notes that you wanted to share, you can click here and share all of these very easily via email, via PDF. I have it defaulted as saving as a PDF, but you can save it as an RTF or the kind of generic note format that they use. And then you can also, I believe paper is like the background image, and the recordings, it will just it will basically embed the recordings into that file as well. So it's very handy. Certainly students and faculty and staff alike can use something like this. So I highly recommend it. It's called Notability. I believe when I got it, it was 99 cents, unless they've increased the price. It still is 99 cents. So yeah, it's a really nice app. There's a lot of options here as well. So, questions? Thank you.
One thing that's funny when we have consulting with faculty and sometimes it's something to keep in mind with these iPads is that the students can be recording your lectures or be recording in class. And I think that's something we've gotten more used to with Echo and Broadcast and things like that. But there's definitely some resistance to run into a faculty not realizing that their students can be recording them. So something to keep in mind with the iPads as well. Does anyone else have an app they would like to share? Yes, we do. Is it up here, Adam, in our pile of cables? Oh, look. There you go. Hold on. You get
And I'm not quite sure why, but I kind of like the logo. So it also automatically, everything you do is there. So let me just see an example. So here's some figures from class, and the way I get these monitors, I direct my laptop to put pre-planned PDFs directly from your Mac then into Notetaker HD. And here's the mode and go to images. So all the images I currently have loaded on here from my Mac here. So if I want to insert something and I want to do it, say, in a new page, I go to Tools, insert the page, and do the figures from the textbook. Here's a figure inserted. And then you go into ink mode. And then you get a large choice of colors, pen sizes. On here, there's also a wrist guard. Throw it on this side. Zoom, so you have a window up here in the upper left, for instance, and you can write down here, here's the window. You can move that window around, so forth. The other thing is you load your PDFs, PDF files. It also works with Dropbox if you want. So I'm just kind of learning all the things that are going on. Also, I think there's a bunch somewhere if I can find it. I haven't used it yet, but there's also a bunch of figures, for instance, squares, circles, axes, and then you can just drop them into your page as you go along. Good. I guess that's about it unless there's any questions.
Oh, so what was the name of the app again?
Note-Taker HD.
Note-Taker HD. The App Store. It's 99 cents at a time. All right. Does anyone else have an app they'd like to show? Anything else in there now? All right. Well, I hope that we've all had a nice discussion about mirroring, and we had a couple new apps. So we'll keep working on these things. We'll put up our usual information from today's up on the wiki. So we'll put up apps, hardware names, and also the video for this once we get it all set up. But thank you very much for coming out today. We do really appreciate it, and please feel free to let us know if you have any questions, and we'll certainly let you know when we're going to have our next meeting, which is probably going to be sometime before the end of the semester. So, all right, well, thank you very much, everyone.